Thank you. Good morning. My name is Susana. I work at the CETMAR, the Technological Center of the Sea, in northwest of Spain, in Galicia. And this is the sixth stakeholder engagement webinar series within the PREP4BLUE project. It's here with me, my colleague Marta, who is going to tell you the instructions for this webinar.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to share now some instructions of what we some technical issues that you may have during the webinar. So you can here you have several icons where you can see where the chat is and how to raise your hand to ask any question and how to turn on and off your micro and camera. Also, you can ask questions through the chat or opening your mic. And then you have also the questions and answers button in the Teams toolbar, so you can ask any questions that you want. And then we will have an open floor at the end of the webinar, so you can ask any other questions that you have. If you have any issues, you can tell us on the chat and we will try to solve them as soon as possible. You are mute, Susana. Now, Susana's gonna, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Well, as I said before, this is the sixth PREP4BLUE stakeholder engagement webinar, and the title for today is Engaging Stakeholders for Effective Advocacy and Governance of Highly Protected Marine Protected Areas in the Mediterranean Sea. The speaker today is Patricia Puig. But before giving her the floor, I'm going to introduce you to the Mission Oceans and Waters and the PREP4BLUE project. So, in 2022, the European Commission launched the 5 missions, which are Mission Climate, Mission Cancer, Mission Smart Cities, Mission Soil, and Mission the Oceans and Waters, with the aim of provide concrete solutions to some of our greatest challenges that European and worldwide societies are facing. This provides or set ambitious goals and will deliver concrete results by 2030. So the mission Restore Our Oceans and Waters have 3 main objectives, which are protect and restore marine and freshwater ecosystems and biodiversity, prevent and eliminate pollution of our oceans, seas, and waters, and make the sustainable economy carbon neutral and circular. Within each of those objectives, there are specific targets, such as protect a minimum of 30% of the EU's sea area and integrate ecological corridors as part of a true trans-European nature network, reduce by at least 50% plastic litter at sea, and eliminate greenhouses from the maritime economic activities. But on top of those objectives, there are 2 main enablers. We can say that they are transversal topics, and those are the digital ocean and water knowledge system and the public mobilization and engagement. And this is the framework that brings us together here in this webinar. In order to give these concrete solutions, the mission have set 4 regional areas where the mission can provide the solutions in a more local sense, try to engage the different actors in a regional setup. So those lighthouses are the Atlantic and Arctic, the Baltic and North Sea, the Danube and Black Sea, and the Mediterranean, where the webinar of today is focused on. So within the PREP4BLUE project, the aim is to provide solutions for co-creating and engaging citizens and stakeholders. And the aim public for those webinars are these different stakeholders involved in project in these four areas. So within the PREP4BLUE, we identified, based on the triple helix, the stakeholders involved in the ocean knowledge ecosystem. So we have the governance, we have the knowledge ecosystem, and we have the socioeconomical systems. The knowledge ecosystem is in the triple helix is research, and there are bilateral relationships between each of those branches of the helix, and giving a deep view of those, we identified more complex interactions between them. So decision makers and funding organizations are in communication with business and industry, with the knowledge ecosystem. So yeah, here we have like a classification of the main stakeholders involved in this ocean knowledge. There are also different levels of engagement. So the most common is, or the less requires less effort, is inform. Then we have consult, and involve and collaborate, and empower. So if you see here the hats, you can see that the last one, level, the empowerment, is when we try to co-create, make decisions between all the stakeholders involved in a different problem. So we have some examples here. Everyone knows social media and website as a way of informing stakeholders. Then we have other common ways of interaction, like for consulting, which is meetings or public surveys. But there is some less common examples, like our charrette, which is where from the decision making, trying to involve other stakeholders and collaborate with them to take those decisions. So from the PREP4BLUE project, we have already, the project ends in May next year, so we have already some results. If you go to the PREP4BLUE website, you can find those deliverables related with the stakeholder engagement. But there are also a database environment for the mission Ocean and Waters, set up in collaboration with Atlantic and Arctic Blue Mission as well. And it's called the Wavelinks. So it's a free platform. You just have to go there and register, and then you can use the filters to identify different stakeholders, engagement methods, and so on. So if you have interest and time, please go and try it, please. Since this is the last webinar, I like just to do a recap on the previous webinars. The first one was bridging missions, trying to identify how a stakeholder is transversal to the different European Commission missions. So in that case, Lucia Fraga talked about the stakeholder engagement for climate change adaptations. The second webinar was in more economic sense, trying to assessing marine biodiversity value. The third one was based on blue economy with the Ormi experience example. The fourth one was about was more focused on the waters, because the mission Ocean and Waters looks to have a big component based on ocean and seas, but it is like the rivers, even though we have the Danube area, that is big area, identified, focus on regional projects there. It looks to be less addressed. So we wanted to focus on these adaptations to water scarcity. And the same happened with the last webinar with focus on rivers. We had two examples, one from Galicia with the Proyecto Ríos and one from the Danube. So we cover the four lighthouses, and we try to cover the main objectives for the mission Ocean and Waters. Since we are here today, I like to invite you as well to another event that we are organizing in Bordeaux next month, and will be about co-creating strategic approaches to boost stakeholder engagement for the preservation and restoration of the Atlantic Ocean. It's a free event. You just have to register, but we cannot cover flights or the cost to get there. But I can ensure that it will be a very practical workshop, and I think that we are going to have fun. So please go to the website and have a look, and we'll be happy to share the experience with you. And that's all from my side. I leave you with Patricia Puig from Oceanogami, sharing her experience in the establishment and effective management of highly protected marine protected areas in the Mediterranean Sea. So Patricia, that's...
Thank you very much for the great introduction and all the project. Really good to know. I will share my screen. One sec. Okay. Can you see now my screen? Yes? Okay, fantastic. So yes, thank you very much for the invitation, and it's great to contribute to this really relevant project, talking about engaging stakeholders for effective advocacy, particularly for highly protected areas, which are really needed in the Mediterranean Sea, but everywhere else. I'm a blue economy and MPA expert. I did my PhD in marine protected areas in the Mediterranean Sea, so working on different protected areas. And there I learned a lot about the different management and governance and stakeholder engagement, particularly, and the differences between the protected areas that they are in the Mediterranean Sea, very different from the north, from the south, and between them. So I learned from different, we can say, case studies, more real case studies, more from top down, also more government marine protected areas, to bottom up, more community or fishers co-management areas. So I think it's really relevant to get to know these different types of marine protected areas, how we can make them more efficient, more really that they are working, that they are not paper MPAs. So I'm also the IUC member of World Commission of Protected Areas. So there we exchange a lot of knowledge, particularly also with OECMs, which is a specialist group focused on other effective protection measures. So this is a complement of the marine protected areas, focusing more on the efficient management. As we know, we are using the ocean and impacting it in many different ways. So the ocean provides us so many services, and we need to manage these activities that we do in the ocean in a more sustainable way, such as fishing, tourism, renewable energy, or any other uses that we may do. And that's why it's important to have this, relevant to have these marine protected areas, but particularly highly protected areas. So what do we mean with highly protected areas? Usually it means like, they are highly protected. There is no extraction, no extraction, And then usually, so it's a no-take area, and with very little use, like maybe for research purposes. So it's yes, it's all very protected in that way, no? So there's very limited the activities that they are done. But later I will talk about the different types of protection, because everything depends on the marine protected area. And of course, there are also guidelines and of the different types of protection. But yes, it works a lot on a case by case, no? And then yeah, so we know this, the Mediterranean Sea is going under pressure, and but there is also a biodiversity hotspot. So it's very unique, no? And we are sharing all the Mediterranean, different countries from the north and from the south and the east, but we all share this sea, no? So it's important that we are together and protected these different countries that we share the same environment, you can say, no? And then there is why it's important so to have this highly protected area. So I will talk about a lot about that, because it's part of the advocacy work that we also do in Oceanogami. So I'm the founder of this marine environmental consultancy company, and we have done quite a lot of work on advocacy of marine protected areas, particularly the Mediterranean Sea, working with many different partners as the stakeholders in the Mediterranean, but also overseas. And so there is the marine protected areas, as we know, is designated areas of the ocean that are managed to conserve marine ecosystems, species, and habitats. And there is increasingly seen as this critical tool for addressing these threats that I was talking about in the ocean, including overfishing, pollution, habitat destruction, and climate change. And these are the benefits, particularly for the full protection. We actually did work with MedPAM on this with the marine protected areas managers to improve in advocacy and communication work for this full protection, the marine protected areas, because it's really relevant to have inside a marine protected area a part that is fully protected. This is a benefit for conservation. It's a benefit for the spillover effect. So the adults and larvae from the protected area where there is no extraction, they will repopulate other areas that there is more use, or fishing, other activities that there is and use of the protected, or the less protected area, we can say, no, or the non-protected area. There's also benefit on economy and well-being, because of course, if we have this protection, it will improve the economy. And for example, more tourism, more fishing, and also the well-being of the people, particularly the local community. It's really important, the local community, and for that it's really important the stakeholder engagement on the marine protected area. Of course, it will also improve the resilience. So over time, that this ecosystem is resilient, particularly to other impacts that is more difficult to tackle, like the climate change, for example. We're also working in another consultancy in climate change adaptation with the private sector. But still, this is an impact that is very difficult to address. It's not as direct as the fishing or the tourism, where you have a direct management on this issue. No? So it will make the benefits of full protection is that the ecosystem will be more resilient, and because it will be less impacted by other factors. Okay, and then of course it's important for the science and all the knowledge that we can gain and on this, full protection and comparison with no protected areas. This is what I did on my PhD as well, comparing the connectivity between a protected site and no protected site. And outreach is also really important for showing the importance of protecting the ocean, to the general public, the local community as well. At the moment, this is the status of the marine protected areas in the Mediterranean. So only less than, we can say, 10% of the Mediterranean is protected. So you know about the 30 by 30 goal, no, the target of protecting 30% of the ocean by 2030. So we only reached 10% so far in the Mediterranean. And only 0.05% is highly protected. So it's really, really a small area, highly protected. So this, of course, this needs to be increased for all the benefits that I talked about before, no? And apart of that, the question is, are these protected areas, the ones that they are now protected, well managed? So actually, a lot of them, they don't even have a management plan, or the management plan is not implemented. So if there is no management plan, or there is no management plan implemented, then how it can be well managed, no? So that's a redundant question, but it's clear the answer, no? So there is still a lot to do, and it's a lot going on. So I'm pretty positive as well, because particularly MedPan, SPARAC, other organizations, they are doing in the Mediterranean a lot of work on that. And also we need to take into account all the complexity that I will talk a bit later on the different type of protection measures, different figures of protection. So in this map, we have drawn the MPAs with a national statute, the Natura 2000 sites, which usually they don't have a management plan, and the Pelagos Sanctuary, which is a big marine protected area. So inside this 10%, there is this huge marine protected area, which is really more focused on the marine mammals. And also the question is there a management plan? Is this really working? No, this one that it's between France, Italy, and Corsica. And also it's between two countries. So then between France and Italy. So it's also more difficult to manage when there's this transboundary marine protected areas, no? So there's this more complexity because all the countries are very, we can say, together in the Mediterranean, very close to each other. So there's also this complexity. This is the status of the global status, okay? And this is actually, here we have this graphic actually is European, okay? And then we have Germany, Belgium, and France who have reached this 30% goal. But the other countries, they haven't reached it yet. And we have Spain, less than 15%. Okay, so this is by country. And we can see that most of them are Natura 2000 sites, and there are some national protected areas. Yeah, there are both, of course, they are integrated to each other. But also the question is, even that have reached 30%, are they efficient? And here we can count. So for achieving the 30 by 30 goal, here we're counting either marine protected areas or OSCMs, which are other special protected measures. And these ones, yes, it's a growing interest at the moment, but in the Mediterranean, they are not implemented yet, these kind of protection measures. But recently did a workshop in Barcelona about this topic. And I think this is something that it will be grow on to reach this 30 by 30 goal, to implement other type of protection measures that will help to reach the protection. But for me, what I believe that is the most important is not to have, doesn't really matter what is the figure, we can say, of the protected area, but the most important is that they have really a management plan implemented, no? And it's working. And here we have this different types. This is like a very, visual way to see it. And we have like fully protected. This is what I was talking about, fully protected. Then we have also highly protected. Okay, so there is also this difference. and then lightly protected and minimally protected. So it all depends on the activities that they are there, and there's also the categories for the IUCN categories of the level of protection of marine protected areas. So, and the important thing here is that there is a proper management on these in these areas, and we can have different protection measures, in the same marine protected area. And here I'm showing some of the benefits. Have been done already quite a lot of research on the benefits of fully protected areas. So, for example, here in this paper, this is from the Science of Marine Protected Areas, and it summarized actually a lot of different research papers. And this is, so fully protection increases the number of the size of the fish within the MPA. This has been shown that when we have fully protection, it increases the number and the size, both of them. And so they tend to host larger individuals. And also large individuals contribute more to the next generation than the smaller adults, because they produce more offspring. So this is actually part of also the spillover effect. Also, is important of a fully protected area to another buffer zone that is not protected or less protected, and so it will benefit the adjacent areas. Like, for example, increasing the number of fish or the larvae. Not only fish, also larvae, for example, for corals or invertebrates, that they travel through the currents and they go to non-protected areas. So it helps to repopulate these areas that they are more impacted. So that's the importance of this spillover effect. Then another case study are the Columbetes Islands, and I'm talking in the Mediterranean. And Columbetes Islands is actually on the Catalan coast of Spain, and they wait. So they have this. We have here, this graphic that is the years of the creation of the MPA, and how it has increased the biomass over the years of the creation of the MPA. So here it shows that, the weight, they have weight by the fishing, the fishing unit in kilograms, Then it has doubled actually in 8 years, So this is one of the case studies, And another one we have in Banyuls, Server Banyuls MPA. So it shows that with the same fishing techniques, catches several species were fullest near the MPA limits and decrease as the distance increase. So here is showing that where this, actually you can see it when you see in a map a marine protected area in a global fishing watch, for example, that you're seeing this fishing activity. It's very curious to see. I don't know if you have ever seen that graphic, but a lot of fishers, they are surrounding the marine protected area. They are fishing like actually in the boundaries of the marine protected area, because they already know that is where there is more fish there. So the fishers already know. And in large marine protected areas, particularly, you are seeing this trend, that they fish on the borders. This is part of the spillover effect. And here's another example of Gokova Bay in Turkey. We have done actually a consultancy here, and the fishers are quite engaged for the marine protected area, which is really important because they are, particularly one of them, is like doing advocacy for the other fishers, and he's like always in the social media. He always is, you see him happy, happy fisher, and it's an example that he sees the benefit and he's sharing it with the other fishers. And actually, this is a benefit for them because in this study they have done that the average income per boat increased with the marine protected area in the cooperative. But what is particularly important is what we were talking about is economic benefits, no? So not only ecological benefits, so we have seen now these ecological benefits, but also the economic benefits, which are related, of course, to these ecological benefits. So particularly for the tourism sector and the fishing sector, I will say, but for the local economy in general. Here we have seen two examples different where Medes Island is more focused is in Catalonia, and they are more focused on recreational uses. And then whereas Columbretes is more artisanal fishing. So in both we can see this economical benefits. They are different. Okay, one more related to the recreational uses because Medes is a very good place for diving. I don't know if you had the chance to go there, but there are so many diving clubs. But of course, they are regulated the number of diving clubs that they go there, the number of visits, all this. But there's quite a lot of tourism going on, particularly diving tourism. And then Columbretes is more focused on artisanal fishing. So it benefits both economies, depending on the, as I say, case by case, no, on the marine protected area. And but of course it has its challenges, as I said before. So I think one of the main issues is that there are many different types of figures of protection, and particularly for non-specialists in the field, or for politicians, or also, for other stakeholders, is really complex environment. Even for experts, it's very complex because, like here, we were doing a workshop in the Alboran Sea, and in this, we have made a map of all the different protection measures in this area. So in this area, it's actually shared by Morocco, Algeria, and Spain. We have all these different type of protection measures that they go from ISRA, which are important shark areas, KBAs, which they will not be anymore, but now they're mapped, keyword areas, important marine mammal areas. Also, we have the ecological or biological significant areas, feature restricted areas, FRAS, and also MPAs with national status, Marine 2000 sites, Ramsar sites, SPAMIs as well. We are actually also doing a consultancy within the SPAMIs of Morocco. So all these, there are different type of figures of protection. Not all of them, they have, of course, a management plan. They are just recognized sites for biodiversity. But it shows that they are important for something, even if it's biodiversity or if it's for a species focus, no, or for different purposes, no. So all this has to work together and the different protection measures. And here we need to think about, okay, which areas should be no take from here, which management plan, all this, no. So this is quite complex, and particularly with the new uses of the sea that we have. For example, should we put wind farms in marine protected areas or OSCMs? This is already a debate, and or ocean energy projects. So all this, marine traffic, all this makes everything more challenging when we have more stakeholders involved, no? So it's really important to get to know which stakeholders, no, we are going, which stakeholders they are involved in one area, no? And particularly, they are important to identify for the effective management and governance. And it has been shown, this is a case study in Taza National Park in Algeria, that before the participatory process and after the participatory process, the differences, no? So after the participatory process, actually the percentage of fishers, they were more in favor of having fishing control. So these participatory process are very important. It's really relevant to get involved stakeholders actually from the beginning, particularly the ones that we think is more relevant for the marine protected area because they have a direct impact or, or benefit from the area. So they will be more impacted for the protection, no? So it's really important that they know about what is a marine protected area for starting and what implications it has. No, so why is important stakeholder engagement? So you have to have more collaboration, more mutual benefit, trust, improving decision making, and of course reduce the conflict between the stakeholders. And with that, you will enhance the efficiency of the marine protected areas. We have done actually that picture. Sorry, I will go back because this, I just had a flash memory. So I was working on a project on Sao Tome and Principe. This is outside the Mediterranean. But it was a very interesting project because we helped to establish the first marine protected areas in the country. And a lot of that was done thanks to the stakeholders, to the local stakeholders. So these are two features that actually they were looking at the maps that we produce thanks to them, because we collect a lot of data from that they help us to collect on fishing, or different biodiversity. So then we made these maps with Martian, with this software that helps for the decision making, and then we select which areas were more relevant to protect, and they were seeing these areas. And actually, one of the fishers communities was saying, because their area was not selected, they were saying, why is not selected our area? We would like it to protect. So that was really relevant to have that. There's very impactful, because it means that they understood what they were marine protected areas. They understood the benefit of it, and they wanted, no? So, and for that, we did a lot of stakeholder engagement, going to the community. You put the maps on the floor where they were. We engaged with them. We had local people talking with them, so they took the language. And actually, a fisher that was a fisher before, that worked for the conservation department, was the one helping us to do the engagement. So all of this is important. So they have the same level of knowledge as other stakeholders, and this will help, no, for this management of the area. That was a very bottom-up marine protected area, no, from the fisher community. So it seems important to understand the different stakeholders, particularly local communities, fishers, tourism operators, NGOs, government, academia. So they are very different stakeholders, and within these stakeholders, they're also very different. So like local communities, you can have many types of different local communities. You can think also of the women that sell the fish in this community, for example. They had different times and different also values, and that the fishers that they went to the sea every day to fish, no? So you have to think about also the whole community and the difference between the communities, no? This was shown before in the previous presentation of the project, so I will not go more in depth, but basically we have different types of stakeholder engagement, no? From informing them to empower them. So it's really important to know where we are or where we want to be with these stakeholders. And because if, for example, we can start at the beginning by informing them, but maybe we want to arrive to the empowerment, particularly to the fishers or local communities, if we want to create a co-management and marine protected area. No? So, and empowerment is really relevant because they will feel they have this this power, no? for the management on governance of this area. This is what I was explaining you before, this case study. This is outside of the Mediterranean again, but this is in Sao Tome and Principe, and you see this local community. There were kids, there were women, there were men, everybody there in the community seeing these maps, and with also an expert talking about the importance. They had this lemma that says "Omali bidanon." This means see our life. No? So they really, they really depend on the sea, and it's very important to know this, no, that is in order to engage them. Then here, we have just published a paper actually about this case study, where we did also a lot of marine spatial planning and marine protected areas through this process, more community engagement. It's important also to know the governance structure when we are engaging stakeholders. So who is participating, who makes the decisions, or which voices are heard. So in the case, for example, of the Seychelles, this is a sample from Cosin Island. So we have the nitrogen cells, the board of trustees, and then we have these different NGOs and the minister. So this is a very NGO related, management and governance. So it's important to get to know all this, to know how to approach the stakeholders. And understanding as well the costs and benefits. So the cost that they have, the stakeholders, they will have restricted access to these resources. They will have loss of cultural practices. They will increase regulation. But we also have to think, of course, the benefits and think about how they are balanced together. So benefits will be like enhance marine resources, boosted tourism, or biodiversity preservation. That's just a few examples. And then long term, particularly, it's important to think about the long term, because when we are thinking about a protected area, we think over the long term, and particularly communicate that to stakeholders, because maybe they don't see the recovery in 1 year or 2 years. They have to wait 4 or 5 years, 10 years. So it's important to know that, and it will depend on the species, it will depend on the marine protected area particularly, So here we have just a couple of species, and this takes like 15 years, for the recovery of the biomass of these two species, the grouper, the dusky grouper, and the common dentex. So it's important to consider that, particularly with the change of regulations, that we need to think long term for the benefits. I don't know if there are any written questions there, but we are about to finish, so we can now make a bit of discussion, because I would like to get to know your opinion, if you have work also on stakeholder engagement, on highly protected areas, all this. And but just closing remarks. So there is this urgency for highly protected areas, and we know the benefits. Stakeholder collaboration is key for having these protected areas, highly protected areas particularly. And we need to have a balance between the conservation use and sustainable use. So align the protection with these economic benefits for the local communities. It's important as well to advocate for these well-governed Mediterranean marine protected areas, and to also do a lot of advocacy, collecting this action for making it work. So, and then learn from the locals, I can say, and from their feedback, and this is here the Oceanogami, actually. We're going to do a consultancy now, that because it's a spammy site, and then there is a feature that it knows the benefits of the marine protected areas, so he can share it with the others. And it's important to hear the local communities when we are doing this engagement and learn from them. So thank you very much. And now I think it's time for discussion. I would love to hear from you. I will stop sharing the screen so I can see you and see if there are any questions, if you would like to discuss any of the points.
Yeah, please feel free to ask any questions to Patricia. I think that was a very nice presentation and really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Just to break the ice, I start with a question. I'm not familiar with marine protected areas process, so I'm wondering how long it takes since someone decided that some area needs protection till actually confirm that the designation of that area as a protected.
Yes, so it's a long process. I will say minimum 4 years.
Oh,
But yeah, it's a long process, and it all depends, say case by case, if it's more from the government, if it's more bottom-up approach. But in any case, it has to be recognized by the government, no? So it's usually they are long processes, and then later, if you change the government, it gets more complex. So yes, it takes long, but as the most important, actually, of course, is the designation is important. But if there is this engagement from the beginning, some areas that might not be considered protected areas, if it's this case, they could be proper management, and or maybe they have other type of protection measures such as OSCMs, which in theory takes less bureaucracy work. But after the discussion that we had in the internal workshop, it was like, okay, it's also from bureaucratic and it can take years as well. But maybe there are other types of protection measures that they take less time. So I think the most important here is when you engage the stakeholders from the beginning, you can already make it work at the beginning, no? But to see the benefits, of course, you will also take long to see, the ecological benefits and the economic benefits.
so the logical question for me now is, you ask, is this marine protected area well managed? I thought, well, how it can be made? I mean, you have this area designated as marine protected area with a different level, wherever it is could be low or high, is 4 levels for that. I assume that there is a monitoring of this marine protected area in order to have then regular meetings, I don't know the frequency, maybe once a year or whatever, having the stakeholder together again and say, well, that's the progress of the marine protected area. Is that right?
Yes, so you need to have this monitoring plan, is indicators. So how will you like to, so it depends on the objectives of the marine protected area. Like you can have, for example, keystone species like you would like to protect. So then you can monitor them over time. For example, the grouper, you can select as a keystone species. And then, but it has to be things that are really tangible. So you will not say that this, okay, I want to protect everything, all the biodiversity. So how you are going to monitor that? How are you going to show that this is efficient? So when you're thinking about monitoring, it has to be very specific. So this has to be smart objectives as well, no? So as much as specific and measurable as possible, so you can monitor it over time. And it depends that on the management plan of the objectives of the marine protected area. But yes, you need to have a plan and also be capable of monitoring. And who is going to monitor? Do you have the resources? Like in a marine protected area, you have the staff, but maybe there is not enough staff. Are you counting maybe of the fishers? Maybe they can help also to monitor the area. So yeah, there are many things to take into account. I would say the most important is that this is measurable and you have a well monitoring plan. And the monitoring plan also, it will be adaptive. So it will evolve with the time because nothing is stable. So the situation that we have now might be different than the situation that we have in 3 years, in 4 years. So it's important also to adapt that plan. Sorry if I make it more complex, your question with a complex answer, but I hope that
No,
was.
I follow that. I mean, I
Yeah.
identify that needs to be like a management plan and a monitoring plan altogether. But is this link with a communication plan as well? Yeah.
Yes, everything.
With the monitoring plan, you say, well, and we'll inform stakeholders about this with this frequency.
Exactly. It's also important to have this communication plan. So when I was working in a new marine protected area, that it was very top-down government in Ascension Islands, so in the middle of the Atlantic. There were even there that there were not so many local stakeholders. We need to make all this plan. It's like a business plan, no? Basically, no, that you need to make this monitoring, everything from scratch, no, monitoring plan, management plan, communication plan, as you were saying, because it's important to communicate the stakeholders the results and which are the stakeholders to communicate this, how we're going to do this message so it's clear for all the stakeholders, either if it's government, fishers, tourism sector. So you need to show the results, of this, this money that is working, this marine protected area or not working, or the status of it,
Yeah, I see how it's a complex process because you have to have a balance between the socioeconomic benefits and the protection benefits.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you mentioned before that the wind farms in marine protected area is an open debate actually today. Can you give some insights about this? I mean, how that works in most of the marine protected areas that you have worked or are familiar with? You think that will be possible to set up wind farms in marine protected areas?
This is a debate, so everyone think a bit different. But one of the points that is usually discussed is like, so in the sample of the wind farms, when you place a wind farm, you don't allow fishing, so it really conflicts the fishing. So it will not be impact of fishing. So you take out one impact, but you also have to think which is the impact of the wind farms in the marine environment. And so the consensus now, I think, is more like case by case. Let's do a proper environmental assessment and see if this is working. Is this really, could be considered maybe not a marine protected area, but maybe an OSCM or other protected measure. This is really, accomplishing because if the main objective is just the economic of the wind farms and not the conservation status or the biodiversity, the conservation of the biodiversity, then you are there into conflict, ecological conservation with pure economic conservation, I would say. But with other stakeholders, it's easier to find this balance because, for example, the fishers, as we have seen in the presentation, you can have more regulated fishing and also more local fishing that impact less the marine environment. Or also the sustainable tourism. In that way, you have a balance between this ecological conservation and the uses that we do. So there is a proper management that we can have this balance. Or either you have an area, of course, that there is no take or highly protected, as I was mentioning, and then it benefits, in any case, these stakeholders surrounding the area, no? So, and at the end, it's also economically profit, no? We have seen, no? So this is important to show that as well, no? It's not only for the ecological benefits, but at the end, it ends to economical benefits, which many times we care more about it, but it's related, no? Everything is linked.
In social science, when we talk about stakeholder engagement, it's very common to hear about stakeholder fatigue. So in a long process like that, what's your experience with that? Is many people attending at the first meeting and then goes less and less, or not, or the opposite?
Maybe here we can also stakeholder fatigue, no? It's like when you're the meeting so many meetings, it happens that, but it's important to keep them engaged and that there is a purpose, no? And they see that there is an outcome of it, no? If we are doing meetings for doing meetings with no thinking about the outcomes or common ground that we have, is difficult. So, of course, like we are people that we get tired sometimes, exhausted of these long processes, of course. But we need to have this common vision of where we want to arrive and keep engaging. And engaging with the stakeholders is a continuous process, no? And you may lose some sometimes. So you need to re-engage them or find other ways, no, to engage them. Of course, in these long processes is not easy, no, like that. But some things that can work quite good is like this exchange meetings between stakeholders or between marine protected areas. Like we are now organizing this with a client. We are organizing this exchange meeting between SPAMIs in the Mediterranean. So some SPAMI sites, no, they're these protected special sites, no, that they learn from others. So they go, they travel, they learn what are the benefits, they learn about the challenges, everything, and they come back and they improve their. So I think this is quite stimulating, seeing other marine protected areas that they are working, that they have they have their benefits and economical and ecological benefits. So protected areas that they work, and they can take that back home to their own area, no? So this exchange, I think, is very beneficial, no, to keep the stakeholders motivated.
Hey, anyone from the audience is
Yes,
working on
please.
marine protected areas and is interested in asking any question or give feedback about the talk today?
Yes, please. I would like to get to know you better, what you do, and yeah, if you have worked in similar issues or with stakeholders or with marine protected areas.
Do you see possible to reach this 30 goal for the mission Ocean and Waters, protecting 30% of the oceans and seas in Europe?
I will leave the question to the public. Let's see what they say. They're positive. I see Ricardo Milan. Yeah, he's writing a message. I say out there. Okay, yeah, they're writing message. So Manuela Cozzi say difficult. Yes, it's difficult, but yeah, still keep the hope for that, no, for reaching it. And okay, then Ricardo Milan, should I read it or you want to read it? I talk too much, I think. We have some comments and from.
Yes, I share the link for the recording in a week or so to the registered people, and I can also send you the slides. Yeah, no problem with that.
And I will read the comment that I asked. I'm hearing some comments. Say Ricardo Milan. Say thank you, Patricia, for the insightful information you share with us. It's always a pleasure listening to you. Thank you, Ricardo. And will it be possible to receive? Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Then yeah, no more comments. Do you don't have? Yes. So do you keep the hope of of the 30 by 30 goal? Yeah, see the
Danny, you can open the micro if you want.
Yes, please.
Hi, Patricia. Thank you so much, and thank you, Susanna, as well. It was really interesting. I'm part of a very new project in Atlantic and Arctic, and I will be working with the stakeholders involving in marine protected areas as well as other things. So I really just came to absorb your knowledge and your learnings and try to see how we can apply your insights and when we move forward in our project. So thank you so much for being so generous to give and share your knowledge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. I would love to hear more about your project, so you can get in touch with me if you want.
I'm so happy that these webinars bring people together and maybe collaborate in the future. So that's the end of the webinar for today. If no one else wants to... Oh yeah, Marta is sharing a link for,
Thank you, Marta.
sharing with us, well, tell us your feedback about the webinar today. You have here, Marta, the contact for Danny in the chat. So thank you all for attending today. And it was a pleasure, Patricia. to listen to you and to learn from your knowledge, from your activity. I hope you have a lovely day, and we'll keep in touch, and we'll see in conference and so on. So
Okay.
have a lovely day.
Thank you very much, everyone, for being here,
Cheers.
and we keep in touch. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.